We are here to talk about empowering realtors, navigating isolation, loneliness, and depression in senior clients. And I am Sherri M. Herman with Sherri M. Herman Counseling and Consulting. I am out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I have been practicing in mental health for just over 15 years now. And I have worked with a wide variety of age groups, some children, but mostly adults, as well as um, many seniors over the years. I was telling Julie a little bit earlier that I've worked with many clients who are at, varying degrees of readiness for needing to change their living circumstances. So I have been, the therapist who's trying to support people, encourage, motivate, kind of emotionally hold their hand a little bit as they are facing changing their living circumstances. And some folks are just very proactive, ready and willing to make a leap, and others, it's a real struggle, and it has a far, far deeper meaning. So today we're talking about this through the lens, of course, of isolation, loneliness, and depression. So my goal here today is to empower you to confidently identify and address, within the scope of your work, of course, loneliness, isolation, and depression in your senior clients, and equip you with skills for compassionate support or knowing when to bring in professional assistance. Why are we talking about this? Because in the US, over 33% of the 83 plus million adults aged 45 plus are lonely. Whoops, wrong way. Nearly 25% of the 75 million adults age 65 plus are isolated. And older adults are at greater risk for loneliness and isolation due to loss and illness. A lot of stats, actually, on the next page here, a lot of stats around loneliness kind of came out more during the pandemic and post-pandemic, but a lot of the studies were actually done prior to the pandemic. So the pandemic really only exacerbated a huge pre-existing problem. And many say that loneliness really started going on the rise um, around the 60s when family culture started changing. And we really started, oddly enough, when people started going to church less and focusing more on career, school activities, uh, things like that. So really pulling away from community and looking more towards, well, other career and sport endeavors. In the 2023 U.S. Surgeon General's advisory on the epidemic of loneliness, they've identified that living with loneliness is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes per day. It is lethal. We are absolutely, we are social creatures. So we need social connection, not just to survive, but to thrive. And living with chronic loneliness leads to 26 to 29% increased risk of premature death, 32% increased risk of stroke, 29% increased risk of heart disease, and of course, increased risk for anxiety, depression, dementia, and other illnesses. When I first started, when I was learning about these stats, I could go through my proverbial Rolodex of clients, people in my professional life, who were clients, as well as people in my personal life. And when I kind of look at the folks who have experienced these illnesses, many of these illnesses, and were later in life, I can look back to their personal history, think about their childhoods, time when they were growing up, and there was deep loneliness in their life, which usually came with some level of abuse and neglect. So it was just astounding to kind of see in real time that, gosh, a lot of these things that are medical issues really do have their origins in disconnection. The cost of this is huge, right? So there's not just the cost of our increased personal health related expenses and shortened lifespan, right? Those alone are huge costs to all of us, but also elderly are at increased vulnerability to financial scams later in adulthood. The more lonely you are and kind of desperate for connection, the more vulnerable you are for scams. Loneliness costs employers 154 billion annually due to stress-related absenteeism. And Medicare spends an extra 6.7 billion per year caring for socially isolated adults. So truly the cost of loneliness, isolation, disconnection, it affects our entire system. So as far as how it relates to what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about how realtors can play a key role in helping to mitigate loneliness, foster connection as you are sort of in people's lives in this pivotal transition point. It's one piece of a very large pie, right? One role amidst many other roles. You're not going to be able to solve the problem. That would be delusional. I can't solve the problem. That would be delusional. But together we can all have a little bit of impact. So the how that I'm going to talk about today is how to recognize the signs of loneliness and depression, how to build trust, partnering with professionals, and connection beyond the sale. Now, I have no doubt in my mind, like I was telling Julie earlier, I have no doubt in my mind that y'all already have some awareness and skills around these things. I know many realtors are so good with connecting beyond the sale, building trust. Not everybody is able to necessarily differentiate between signs of depression and loneliness, depending on your experience, right? And in my experience, a lot of realtors are also really good at networking and connecting with professionals. But we're just going to talk through these areas because I felt that these were key areas for us to discuss in the context of our topic for today. And of course, I'll mention as well that we'll be doing Q&A at the end of our time together. Okay, so step one, recognizing the signs. Okay, so realtors have a unique view into the lives of seniors or anybody that you work with, really, because it's possible that you might be somebody who is spending more time in their home than anybody in a really long time. There are some seniors that have either shut themselves in, they keep people out, um, or they might just be isolated, living in a place where they don't know a lot of people. We know that the older people get, the more people they lose in their lives. Many folks are embarrassed to have somebody come into their home because it might actually be, um, a little bit disheveled, or it might be just fine, but they're still afraid to have people in their home for a variety of reasons. But little indicators in the home can actually reveal some subtle signs of loneliness, isolation, or depression. And by becoming a compassionate observer, you could be one to notice little emotional, behavioral, and environmental cues and respond with care. So, some signs of loneliness and depression often overlap. So, the emotions, the feelings that tend to accompany both of them can be sadness, anger, grief, fear, shame, emptiness, hopelessness, and irritability. And behaviors that can accompany both of these are hostility, aggression, withdrawal, defensiveness, argumentativeness, indecisiveness, and denial. So, but some key distinctions between the two. With loneliness, the language is going to tend to be relational. I just keep to myself. My kids don't really come around. My friends have all died. Everybody's busy, right? It's more in the context of relationship, and it's not necessarily personal about me. Can anybody throw out an example of a similar phrase that they've heard from somebody that you've heard from a client?
Well, I'm Carlos. My brother would say, I'm lonely.
I'm lonely. He might just come out and say, I'm lonely. Yes. Yep. Some folks are able to, easily recognize what they're feeling and communicate that directly. And others just kind of talk around it. Now, with depression, it can be a little bit more personal and global, meaning there's something wrong with me. I'm just take up space. I I just don't care anymore. Nobody cares about me. It's all pointless. It's too late to start over. These phrases that tend to point to a sort of despair and hopelessness. Do you see the difference between the two?
Yep.
Now, of course, somebody can be lonely and depressed, right? Because these things, we call them comorbid. Comorbid. They often go hand in hand. Has anyone heard somebody say a phrase that would fall along the lines of depression? Or any examples that you can share?
Oh yeah, mostly well, I just don't care anymore.
I,
That and apathy is a problem.
yeah, yep. I just don't care anymore. I mean, gosh, I say those things sometimes. I have a history of depression and have struggled with loneliness, and I'm only in my mid 40s. And I think, good God, I can only imagine what it must be like to be in your, 70s, 80s, and up. And many folks, if you have depression at that age, many times people have been struggling on and off with it for years. Can totally understand why somebody would think, what the hell is it all for even anymore? So, common pitfalls when working with folks or when trying to connect, um, when somebody is struggling with isolation or depression and loneliness, rushing the process and trying to solve the problem too fast. A lot of professionals are really good at knowing exactly what needs to get done. I know, I know the steps that we got to do, the paperwork. A lot of people really value themselves on being very efficient. But, particularly if it's a situation where a senior is going to be moving from a position of independence and moving into, reluctantly moving into more communal um, or assisted living, rushing that process can end up raising their distress. Has anybody experienced that before? Yeah. So phrases like, you'll be fine. Oh, it's going to work out just great. Trying to sort of change their perspective on the situation. I mean, that goes for anybody. That goes for 3-year-olds. That goes for me. If I'm feeling a certain way about somebody and somebody is trying to give me some reassurance to try and change my perception, that can end up making me dig in my heels a little bit more. Can anybody relate to that? I don't want platitudes. Yeah. Also assuming that independence equals wellness. One of the things that we might see is a person's home can be absolutely spotless. It can look great. And we can easily make the assumption that that means they're doing fine. Sometimes, people do housework in order to keep busy to mask their loneliness. Sometimes a family member or a neighbor or something comes by once a week or every so often and actually helps keep everything tidy. So we don't want to make an assumption about even that a tidy living space necessarily equates to being in good mental health. And again, when moving out of a place of independent living, as you likely know, seniors often feel stripped of control. So premature reassurance or advice can lead to folks withdrawing even more. It can just sort of feel like you don't get it. So I have a couple vignettes here, and I would love you to share if you think someone is depressed or lonely. So first we have Marjorie, who's 75. She's preparing to sell her home of 46 years. Her husband passed away 3 years ago, and now she spends most of her days watching TV. During showings, she talks about how quiet the house has become and how she misses her husband and having people around. She often asks the realtor to sit for a bit after appointments and shares stories about neighbors who've moved or passed away. It's pretty quiet around here, she says. So you can say out loud or put in the chat, do you think Marjorie is depressed or lonely? Just surface level here.
I say lonely.
Lonely.
Yep.
Wesley says lonely.
Lonely.
Yep.
Lonely. Yeah. Yep. So on the surface, right? This is just a simple vignette for this. On the surface, I don't see any indicators of depression. She sounds like somebody who's lonely and she just really wants your connection, right? Have you ever had those folks that are just like, I mean, it doesn't have to be seniors, it can be anybody who's just like, please don't, please don't go, stay and talk.
Well, this is one of the problems that realtors have is in establishing boundaries because a lot of
Yes.
times the lonely home seller will be calling and chatting or checking in quite often, mainly because they are lonely. So,
Yes.
and there's a lot of realtors that only take calls within certain hours or uh,
Yep.
things for that then too.
Yes, absolutely. It's so important to know within yourself first, what are your boundaries? What are your limits? Because then you're leading from the inside out rather than simply reacting to what the person is doing. So have your limit in your mind for how long you spend at somebody's home. Have in your mind your limit for how long you spend on the phone. And then you can communicate those limits right up front. So that is a huge piece of the work that I have to do with folks because there's always people that try and, want to keep the conversation going after the hour or drop something real big in the last 5 minutes. And so it's very important to establish the boundaries on the front end as much as you can, even at the start of the relationship. Here's what you can expect from me. And then it's always the professional's job to hold the boundary. And that is easier said than done. Absolutely. Okay, so now we have, thanks for that um, reflection, Skip. Now we have Frank. Frank is 78. He's reluctantly selling his home after several health issues and pressure from his adult children. He's quiet and withdrawn, shrugging when asked what he's looking for in a new place. He says, "It doesn't really matter anymore. I'm just a burden." His home is dimly lit. He appears unkempt. His mail is piled up and the curtains are closed. When the realtor tries to reassure him, he snaps, "You don't need to sugarcoat it. I'm fine." Has anyone run into this before
Oh, yeah.
or something similar? Yeah. So
Depressed.
do you,
The,
dep-
that's depression.
that's depression. Yeah. He is suffering. It is more common that depression shows up as irritability, anger, and aggression in men. You see that more often in men than in women, typically because anger is a safer, men are conditioned, right? They're taught that anger is a safer emotion. That's not, you know, always the case across the board. There's always going to be variations, but by and large, men are taught that it's not okay to be vulnerable. It's not okay to be sad. And so typically when men are suffering, it's more likely to go towards irritability, anger. Whereas women, we tend to get the message that anger is not okay, that we need to be quiet. Sadness is okay. So women will tend to sort of sink down into lower emotions, and men, when they're suffering, can tend to sink up to go up to anger. I see a hand. Does somebody have a question, or was that just raising a hand earlier? Maybe that's my hand. That's
Yeah, it's yours.
it's mine. It's funny. That's the little things picking up on it.
Thought you were waving at us.
I'm just waving.
Ah.
Hi. It'll probably come up later when I raise my hand. Okay. So yes, depressed. So one little framework here that you can practice. This is borrowed from acceptance and commitment therapy and just slightly modified for our use today. Notice is to just quietly observe um, the signs, changes. Just notice what you notice without judgment. It's sort of taking it all in. And then naming it. Reflect what you see neutrally. You may just do that internally, or you might say something externally. I'm noticing this, right? It seems like blah, blah, blah. So when we can name it, we can tame it. And just naming something neutrally without any sort of indication that it's good or bad or right or wrong can bring defenses down. And then normalizing, right? Offering reassurance without minimizing. Offering reassurance that you're not alone in this. This happens a lot, or I've seen this many times. And even if you haven't seen something many times, it's still helpful to normalize, because just because we haven't seen something personally doesn't mean it's not going on. And as much as we humans would like to think that we're all very unique and very individual, We are all so incredibly similar. You know, after working with hundreds of people over 15 years, there is so much more that we have in common that we have different. And so I think pretty much anything can be normalized for folks so they don't need to feel ashamed or embarrassed about their situation. Any questions, quick reflection on that section before I move on to the next?
I think that we need to be patient and we need to understand and relax a little bit. Easy, put them at ease, because
Yes,
if there is a misunderstanding, it's going to be a very big problem for us.
yes, misunderstandings. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Carlos. And that is actually what this next section is all about. It is about building trust.
So
And it is
Sherri,
being,
before you go on, this
yes,
is Lynn. Thank you so much. What you are saying is so relevant and so important to, not just us in the series space, but also as, in our relationships, because,
yes,
I don't know, we are in this world, everyone's here for a reason. And
yep,
I just believe that in my line of work, we can bless so many around us. And just, I mean, exactly what you're talking about. I was doing walkthrough this last week. His wife is in a memory care, and he's there by himself. And I
yep,
literally had to like say, but before I went, I said, well, I have a meeting at this time, but it was almost
yes,
like that didn't matter to him. He just wanted me to like be there the whole time.
yeah,
And it is hard because, you want to be there, you want to talk with them. And,
yes,
but we did set up another meeting. I said, definitely I want to continue the conversation. And when you
yep,
come into our office, we'd love to hear more about X, Y, and Z, because like, walk through the home. There's so many things, of his wife's things and his things and their lives. And, he's in the Elks clubs and this and that. And
mm-hmm,
definitely acknowledging the importance and like just saying, wow, that's amazing. You've done so much for your community and for your
yes,
family. And, then they feel really like good about, what they've done. And I mean,
yes,
just little things like that. So definitely just bring that, curiosity and that compassion. It is all about building the trust is your next section. So sorry to go on that, but I'm
100%.
taking copious notes because everything you said is completely relevant to what we're doing now. So yeah.
Well,
I
thank
had a
you,
comment
Lynn.
as well.
Yeah,
And yeah, mine is I have a good friend, and I've known her for a long, long time, and she's always talking about moving. Now she's seen her sister who's 95, and she's caretaking her, and she's not far behind her. So she's
mm-hmm,
trying to make plans. But when we went to a film festival, and it was really, really good. And so we drove together. I left my car at her house, so it was getting late and I needed to leave. But she just wanted to talk about the
yeah,
festival, which was really, really nice. But I noticed, and it just dawned on me, we had, say, about three different topics that she wanted to go, and she must have repeated herself three different times.
yeah,
And it's like she never, and like she didn't recognize. I've said this before. She just kept
yeah,
on and on and on. I mean, I didn't leave there. It must have been 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So she just wanted to talk. And
mm-hmm,
I'm noticing it now. And I'm thinking because she is noticing it or something in herself, she seems to be more serious now about
mm-hmm,
relocating out of this big house.
yeah. Yeah, and thank you both for sharing those experiences. And I'm glad to hear that this is resonating and you're seeing it. You're able to think of these client situations and you're seeing like, oh yeah, like seeing how that applies. And yes, it of course it applies in these professional relationships, but it also deeply applies to all of our relationships.
Yes.
So yes, so much of it is about this trust building piece. And I'm going to skip past this actually. But so again, I have seniors on here, but it's really all of us, right? It's also 3-year-olds, it's 15-year-olds, it's 40-year-olds. We all operate from a deep need for autonomy and dignity, and especially in the US, where we so value independence and personal freedom is one of the highest values in this country, right? It is incredibly challenging for most people when they are shifting from independent living into a communal living, and it's not their number one choice. Trust isn't built through cheerfulness or small talk, but built through acceptance, respectful presence, and empathic listening. When we slow down, mirror emotion, and match tone, clients begin to feel seen rather than managed. And so when you're with somebody and they just want to keep talking, you don't actually need to respond to everything that they're saying.
Mm.
Just being present with them, mirroring the emotion a little bit, and matching their tone, that subconsciously communicates them being heard. So, common pitfalls in this: mistaking efficiency for empathy. Moving too fast can feel dismissive, but we know that that needs to be massaged a little bit because y'all are legitimately on a schedule. Over reassurance, like you're doing great, uh, can sound condescending. I've spoken with many seniors over the years who hate it when folks tell them either you're doing great, let me help you with that, or, kind of almost talk to them like children. Folks are really sensitive to that. And another really important thing to keep in mind is that many seniors are carrying years, decades of unprocessed trauma.
Mm.
Okay, the current generation that is in these senior age groups, that generation, mental health like therapy services was not the norm. Okay, there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of fear around it for good reason. And so many folks who are over the age of 70, maybe 60, um, either don't have any experience with therapy, um, or very little. And that's not bad, but it's to keep in mind that that generation also, many people experienced high levels of neglect and abuse when they were growing up because child protection is not what it is now, what it used to be. Child abuse was the norm. It was considered good parenting when many, baby boomers and up were growing older. Same with even my generation, millennials. Um, Child abuse was the norm. So keeping that in mind, not you can't solve it, you can't do anything about it, but hold that in compassion that there's a lot of suffering that this person is carrying. So slowing down, matching their pace, communicates safety and respect and are key ingredients for open communication. So signs of building trust: calm and relaxed body language, sharing personal details, asking for your advice, expressing gratitude of relief, initiating contact or extending conversation beyond the transaction. So these are good things. I know it's hard you have to work to hold the boundaries, but these are green lights that these folks might be more receptive when you need to make recommendations for offering supports. I know the perfect person that would be able to talk to you. And if you can give them, we'll touch on that in the professional section in the moment. I'm aware of time. It's 2:09 and we want to have like a 15-minute Q&A at the end. So I'm going to go through these relatively quick here. But a framework that you can use for helping to build trust. P for present. Be present, minimizing distractions, right? Not being on your phone while you're talking to somebody. Again, this applies to all relationships. Affirming feelings, reflecting what you hear. This is really important when um, you're trying to set those boundaries. And if somebody is not happy about that, you can simply affirm their experience and you still hold the line. Take their lead as far as where they're at for autonomy and pace. And H, help with resources. As you see that trust building, when they want more from you, that means they trust you. And that's your green light to offer additional resources and next steps. So partnering with professionals. Here is one example. Oopsies. Let's come back. Tom, a realtor who often worked with older adults, used to dread emotional moments. One widowed client broke down during a home tour, saying she couldn't imagine living anywhere else. Tom froze. He cared, but didn't know what to do. Can anybody relate? Later, he built a small network of trusted professionals, therapists, social workers, senior move specialists. The next time a client struggled, Tom calmly said, "You don't have to go through this alone. I know somebody who helps people through this stage." And his client felt cared for. Okay, you don't have to go through this alone with your clients. When you have your own network of professional supports in your back pocket, you can pull those out when it seems like somebody is wanting to take you down into their loneliness with them, as or wanting to use you as kind of a life preserver. So a real challenge and why y'all are kind of quiet heroes is realtors often see the real emotions behind a move. Grief, fear, confusion. Y'all see family drama that many others don't see. Your role isn't to fix or counsel. Notice, care, and connect. Yes, connect with them, but also being a connector to other services. And when distress goes beyond normal stress, right, bringing in a professional through a trusted network. Common pitfalls. Waiting until a crisis to take action. When I was doing some research, I was like, do realtors end up seeing a lot of crises? And my understanding is, yes, there actually can be a lot. And I didn't know that. Avoiding
Especially with the senior demographic.
Yeah, yeah.
They wait till there's a challenge, there's a crisis, and then we get the phone call.
And then you get the phone call.
We get to do emergency real estate.
Okay, yeah. So don't wait until a crisis. Don't avoid mentioning professional support altogether out of fear of offending the client. Because again, when we partner mentioning professional support, when we partner that with the building trust strategies, then it tends to go better. Not a silver bullet, right? But when we compare it with empathy and connection, and they can really feel like you care, then they're going to care about what you have to offer as far as other connections. If they trust you, they're likely to trust the person that you're going to connect them to. And of course, a common pitfall, taking on too much responsibility to solve their problems and risk burnout. I'm going to come back to that piece shortly. Oh, that was a change there. Offering help proactively and calmly shows awareness, builds credibility, and actually reinforces your professional boundaries. So here is a professional circle practice for you. Identify 3 to 5 local professionals who serve seniors. Therapists, social workers, senior move managers, and community specialists. Maybe you already do this. You can, refresh that list or take action on this. Connect with these professionals, explain your work, what actually happens in the life of a realtor, which I think a lot of people don't know, who are outside of the industry. Explain your work and desire to collaborate. Obviously, collect their contact info, keep it easily accessible, and circle back, right? Periodically checking in with your professional contacts to maintain relationships and ensure that the referrals are a good fit. Now, maybe you guys know this. Some people know this, some people don't. If you refer somebody to a therapist, the therapist cannot give you updates on the client. At best, what we can do if somebody refers somebody to us, we can say thank you for the referral. We can't give any more detail than that, but you can at least ask your colleague, is this a good referral? And then connection beyond the sale, which I think, again, will just be kind of a reinforcement of many things you probably already do. We know connection doesn't end at the closing. Small, genuine follow-ups help seniors feel seen and supported. Share local resources or community opportunities to help clients rebuild connection and belonging. Do what feels manageable and sustainable to you. It is not your job to be their main social connection, do their social calendar or anything like that, but decide what is manageable and sustainable for you that you can offer. Common pitfalls: believing that connection will happen naturally once a client moves. That doesn't happen for a lot of people at any age. Thinking that follow-up has to be formal or time-consuming, right? Even a little card in the mail can be nice and offers a connection. Brief, genuine communication makes a powerful difference. And realtors have a unique opportunity to really open the door to community in this way. The CARE framework. Now I'm going to give you an opportunity to get my slides at the end of this, but real quickly here, for connection after the sale, check in, quick call, text, or note after the move. Again, I just had a couple minutes, just wanted to see how you're doing. Know your boundary on the front end. Add value by sharing helpful community info or activities. Keep simple notes on personal details and follow up with them. Engage in your community, staying connected with local senior programs. And here is radical acceptance for you. Loneliness is normal, meaning it is unavoidable. It is part of the human condition. Depression, for many people, is unavoidable. The circumstances they've been raised in, things in life that they've experienced, depression is unfortunately part of the deal for many people. More often than not, the best thing you can simply do is offer a kind, accepting, and compassionate presence. Don't put more, responsibility on your shoulders that I need to be the person or do the thing in order to solve this for them. You cannot. This is part of our human condition. Quick recap. We talked about recognizing the signs. Realtors can see subtle signs of loneliness or distress that others might miss. The framework: notice, name, and normalize. We talked about building trust, to slow down, listen deeply, and respect autonomy. Follow the PATH framework. And then with partnering and continuing care, we talked about partnering with professionals. You don't have to do it all, just know others who can help. Build a small, trusted network. You connect with your colleagues around that so you can have a shared pool of trusted professionals. And then connection beyond the sale. Connection doesn't end at closing. Promote belonging with resources. And a couple things that I want to leave you with to take action. Schedule time this week to identify 3 senior-focused professionals. Review your past 3 to 5 senior clients and think about who you might check in on. Review your client process to include moments for connection and practice radical acceptance. I want to give you an opportunity to pull out your phone and scan my QR code if you would like a copy of today's slide deck. I'll pause for a moment here if you would like that. And also, I know we've got a little bit of time left. If you have any more
Yeah,
questions.
don't worry too much about the time. This is great content, and I think it'd be wise if we just, let you finish what you're doing and not worry about doing the time. But I do want to thank you for a fantastic presentation, especially geared towards realtors. I can see that you've certainly done your homework and your research on that, and things like connecting with professionals. All of you that took the SRES course should remember that chapter 12 was exactly that topic. So you got to keep that in mind. But getting to a question, um, how much of the work that you can do is going to be augmented or helped by technology? Um, I know Wesley on the call here has a service called Televisit, and of course there's the the robotic animals and various things that can aid with the loneliness issue. So, do you use that much, and is it pretty reliable?
So you're talking about using like AI tools with,
Well, that'd be included, but even just things like, um, well, simple computer, like Zoom, or, in the old days, the Skype, but
yeah.
being able to communicate and stay in touch, also for entertainment, for other things, but then things like Alexa, which are getting so sophisticated now, you can hardly tell them apart from a person.
Yep.
So if you could comment on some of these.
Yeah, well, certainly there are pros and cons to all of these tools. And it's also the effectiveness and the usefulness is going to depend on the generation that's using them. Okay, so folks who were not raised with as much technology, and right, most of us were not raised with AI, there can be less trust, more discomfort with those tools. And so something that might seem like it's intended to help can end up actually exacerbating the problem. So what often ends up happening with folks is when they go to technology um, for connection, they usually end up feeling more lonely afterwards because it's not actually meeting your physiological needs for connection. So the body responds very differently when there is a person in the room to when you are simply connected, or when you're talking over video. The body and the brain don't respond the same. And a lot of times these tools can simply end up being a short-term distraction from the suffering that's there, from the loneliness or the depression. And once it's over with, they're right back into how they were feeling before. So a lot of them are, I would say, a Band-Aid. And, Zoom for this purposes, yeah, it offers a function. It's better than nothing, right? But it's never going to replace the physiological right brain to right brain connection that happens when you're in person with somebody. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else questions?
Yeah. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can see our faces.
Oh, Sherry, sorry. So I'm on my mobile, so I did screenshot and then the QR code, so I'll have to send it to myself and then take it
Yeah.
and then yeah, but so you mentioned you said 2:09. Are you in another time zone? Can I ask that?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota, so Central Time Zone.
Okay, do you practice in California?
No, I practice in Minnesota.
Oh, shoot. Okay. So I
Yep.
was like, we can't refer people to you then, obviously.
No, you
Uh,
can't refer people to me for one-to-one counseling, but
mm-hmm,
because I am really, um, my focus is connection, loneliness, especially from the point of interconnection. That is what, that's a keynote that I give is on connection, interconnection and loneliness and kind of what this was based off of, but customized
mm-hmm,
for your needs.
mm-hmm.
So I am beginning to offer other resources. So you can still certainly like give my website out because there
Yeah,
are
and you
things
have a newsletter. I get your newsletter.
I do have a
Mm-hmm.
newsletter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So I'm offering more that's actually helping people based on research, based on neuroscience, strategies for folks to experience connection internally through spiritual practice, meditation practice, connecting with themselves, taking the things that I teach people in therapy to connect inward so that they develop the skills and the strategies to connect more easily on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so one of the things that I actually learned, you guys know I went to this UPW, the Tony Robbins, a few weeks ago, is
Oh,
the
cool.
magic of rapport. And one of the things which ties into exactly what you're talking about is there's three forms of communication. Only 7% of them are actually words. 38% of them are communication, which is the voice qualities, which
Hmm.
of course you can still hear on the phone and in Zoom. But one
Yep.
of it is the physiology, which is 55%, which,
Yep.
it makes sense. We are more influential and impactful in person. And then I
Yep.
saw Julie say something that robots don't have hormones or something like that. So yeah, yeah. So thank
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Appreciate your
Thank you.
time. Hmm.
Carlos, I see your hand up.
Yeah, what are the names for the professional names for the vendors and contractors that will help with connectedness and loneliness? Like
Names.
like psychologists, for instance. So what are the names for any other professionals that can help?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, you might, so psychologists would fall into this mix, psychotherapists, counselors, certainly grief counselors, social workers, licensed marriage and family therapists.
Okay, I hate to
Beth
say it,
doulas.
but you know what? We do all of that. Like every single one of those jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Death
probably,
doulas.
not formally, but anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Carlos.
Hmm.
Yeah, so psychiatrists.
Psychiatrists, maybe for depression. So if somebody's depressed, um, so most people, okay, not all, but many seniors are certainly at least going to have a primary care physician. So I would not necessarily suggest that somebody talk to a psychiatrist. Number one, psychiatrists are becoming further and fewer between. There's less of them. Fewer people are going into psychiatry. Um, they usually have huge wait lists. People have to wait sometimes months to see a psychiatrist. And that's for many people, it's a whole new person that they, with the wait lists and the challenges and whatnot. Most primary care doctors are perfectly suitable to diagnose and offer an antidepressant. And most people with run-of-the-mill depression don't need a psychiatrist. So I don't see a psychiatrist as like a first line. Like usually people will go to psychiatrist if they have a more complex mental health presentation. There's a mix of more severe and persistent mental illness. Like maybe there's a mix of um, depression and you know, bipolar anxiety, or maybe there's schizophrenia, something more, just more complexity there. So if you notice that, again, noticing those signs of depression, and if you think somebody might use some help, you can kind of gently nudge in, like, um, it could be helpful to talk with your doctor. A
Another
lot of them
thing,
have a doctor.
How about a
And then,
follow-up question?
what's that?
A follow-up question.
Yes.
Sorry, I interrupt. So
another
I just wanted to know about suicidal. What are the symptoms, and should we call for, um, you know, like an ambulance or something?
Yeah. Yep.
Suicidal
So,
phone number.
yeah, let me give you a resource here. So a national crisis number is 988. You can call it, you can text it, you can do it yourself, or you can give it to a client. So if you're if somebody is starting to talk about ending their life, if they're like really openly talking, explicitly talking about ending their life, and you're worried about it, if you're really worried about it, you can certainly feel free to call the number and say, I'm worried about this person. When you call 988, it's going to connect you to your local crisis resource. So they could, potentially send somebody out there to the home to do a check-in. If you're, and that would just be your own initiative. If you're not a mandated reporter, when somebody's your client, you're not, right, legally required to do it. But if you as a human, if you are genuinely worried about somebody and they're using language about ending their life, um, I'm gonna sell all my things. It's all over. You're not gonna hear from me anymore. Something like that. Um, Absolutely make the call. Don't worry about upsetting people. They might be upset, and that's fine. You will know that you acted according to your values and what you felt was the right thing to do to try and help protect somebody.
another thing realtors need to be aware of too is that you're going to be using these professionals in the case where you have to determine somebody's competency, and it's required that a medical practitioner or two actually certify them that they cannot handle their own affairs anymore and
Mm,
need something else. But these are the doctors and the professionals that would be used in that, and that comes up quite a bit for us in real estate.
okay.
Could you identify the legally mandated folks or professions that are required to report?
Yeah, I probably am not able to identify all of them. There's probably more than but I know anybody in the medical field, um, certainly therapists, social workers, I'm pretty sure teachers are, daycare providers, people who work in, workers in like assisted living, anybody in the medical field. I'm pretty sure even, I think pastors, like clergy. I think clergy is often um, mandated reporters. Those are the ones I know for sure off the top of my head. There could be more that I'm not aware of. Law enforcement, right?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, this is Wesley. I just wanted to jump in since Skip mentioned my name, but Sherri, thanks so much for
Yes.
this very, very helpful. I actually run a nonprofit called Televisit, which Skip just mentioned, and it is a
Mm,
resource that I think most of you guys already know about. I'm not a realtor. I'm
okay.
gate crashing because Skip and Julie are my friends, and they
Okay.
accidentally sent me this invitation. Thank you.
No, you
Nice.
are a professional affiliate.
Oh, is that right?
We all
We
serve the
do.
same
You're,
families.
you're not
We're
going to be able to get out of it that easily.
Thank you, thank you. But one of the things I do is I run a nonprofit called Televisit, and our mission is to mitigate isolation and loneliness. On
Beautiful.
seniors, and we've been doing this for about 20 years.
Oh,
And
wow.
what we do is we provide long-term social support networks for older adults who are lonely and isolated, and especially those who are homebound, including those who have dementia,
Mm,
which is often ignored.
yeah.
So we do it with technology, but they don't have to learn anything because we take care of all the technology needs
Oh my gosh,
them.
that's
So
amazing. I
yeah, they
need
don't have to
to,
do anything at all. Basically, we give them a tablet, it wakes up automatically, it puts some cheerful pictures. When it's time to join a weekly session, they join.
yeah, yeah,
And so we've worked with Stanford University, some of the professors to develop a framework to
yeah.
kind of create social connection. So that's what
Wonderful.
we do.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. Happy to take referrals. We primarily actually work with other organizations. We're funded through grants from other organizations like ARP, SourceWise, etc. We don't
Oh, okay.
typically take one-on-one referrals, but I'm happy to take any referrals and connect them with, some of our other groups. And, like I said, we've had groups of people been with us for over 13 years. And
Yeah,
essentially the exit strategies, when they pass away. So the promise is that we're there um, for them all the way to the end.
yeah.
But
That's
I think one
wonderful.
of the things that Skip said, which is really key in our experience, is dealing with people with dementia somewhere on that spectrum, because most of the people we work with, probably about half of them have some level of cognitive decline. That's just natural. When you're past 85, about half the people have that. And so we have to deal with that a little bit differently. But I've never really had an issue with kind of, you know, they forget things all the time. They'll tell the same stories all the time, and it's perfectly okay, you know. But that's what we do is we provide that social connection. The one
Yeah,
thing that's different, we are not therapists, even though we do work with therapists and we've got a framework and stuff. And we train our hosts on how to deal with things. But
yeah.
what we do is we have a group support each other. And what we've discovered is having that ability to contribute to each other is really important for older adults, because at the end it's like, all my control, everything's taken away from me. And
Yeah,
like you said, I'm no use. What's the point? But allowing
right.
them to contribute back is really important. That's what we do as a group is when
Mm,
someone has cancer for 7 times, and this is a real story, the
yeah,
other people in the group, even though they can't actually help them in any physical way,
yeah,
just by being able to empathize with them and provide that support is really important. They feel like they've contributed as well.
yeah. That's really beautiful. And I love how your organization is, trying to meet this need that is really it it's trying to fill in the gap of what our culture does not do well,
Yeah,
right? This is a real problem in American culture that we're losing our sense of connectedness and our intergenerational connectedness that is not as much of a problem in other parts of the world. And so we got to get creative here because it's not our cultural norm to have intergenerational housing. It's
right.
not the cultural norm for families to take care of their elderly loved ones. And so, and this is where you're bringing in technology to try and support and offer some sustenance where the human relationships have fallen aside.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, we also do what's called social prescribing, where we encourage people to get out and be connected with people in their community.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's some people who come to me and say, oh, you know what, we love coming to your sessions. And I
Yes.
told my friend who offered to bring me out for lunch that I'm not available. And I
Yep.
like, no, get out. Go have
Yes.
lunch with your friend. What are you doing
Yes.
here?
Yes. Yes, and that key piece is so hard for so many people who are struggling with loneliness and depression. And that piece right there, the difficulty to get out and meet new people or to develop those new connections, that is the key thing that I teach usually in my one-to-ones and when I do talks is I teach people how to connect inside on the inside, connect with themselves, which is going to help deal with some of that social anxiety, a lot of the thoughts or perceptions that come up that actually get in the way of being able to develop new connections. So it's connecting inside first so that making those external connections can be more palatable. Because a
Mhm.
huge thing for a lot of people is they're actually scared to connect with other people for many, many, many reasons.
Oh, it's terrifying. And
Yes,
especially if you've been lonely for a long time,
yes.
have this sense where you kind of push people off.
Exactly, exactly. That disconnection on the outside is often a mirror of the level of disconnection on the inside. And so even if they have connection on the outside, they may never feel fully filled up because they're lacking the infrastructure inside to really hold it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Carlos, thank you, Wesley.
So I have this idea. Thank you, Wesley. I would like to know more about that. So the idea of providing a list of places where they can go and visit, and also there is free transportation, like here PTA, pick them up at the home, anywhere they want to go, even
Mm,
appointments or whatever. So
yeah,
many people don't know that, and I think that is important for them to know.
wonderful. Thank you. That's a great resource. And yeah, it's so hard when a lot of these amazing resources exist. And it's like, how do we make people aware?
That's the challenge
That is the
every day.
challenge.
Thank you
Yeah.
all so much. I'm jumping in another meeting, but this is really, really relevant and really appreciate the conversation here. And thank you, Julie, for bringing Sherry on. Okay, have a good day.
Thanks, Lin.
Okay, bye.
All right, everybody, we really do appreciate Sherri and all this new information for us. And we will keep Sherri in our resources. I did mention earlier, I have been getting your email, your newsletter.
Okay.
So, a lot, and I'll feature that in the bulletin so
Oh,
everybody
thank
can
you.
learn about it.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, so we'll conclude here. We'll let you go. I have a few more things for the rest of us to go over. And again, thank you so much, Sherri.
All
Yeah,
right.
thanks,
Thank you all
Sherry.
as well. Appreciate
Thank
the
you.
questions and engagement.
All right, great having you. Thanks.
Thanks, Skip. All right. Take care.
Oh
Bye-bye.
yeah, let's do some hearts. Hearts. There we go.
Right. I like the hearts.
Hearts.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.
Julie, before I
Bye-bye. Thank
forget,
you.
Curtis just sent an email that he needs an address for the CSA material. If you could take care of that after our thing.
Sure. All righty. Okay. Wow, that was real. That was gold. Gold.
Wow,
Uh,
Gold information. Did you guys learn something new?
absolutely. It's
Yeah,
excellent.
yeah. Something that just will bolster us as humans and for our business. Um
Are
oh,
CSAs, and you're a CSA, are they trained in what she was talking about as far
CSA
as
certified
identifying?
senior advisors.
Yeah, is that something that comes up? I know Skip was talking about it in the his class. Yeah.
It's not really a mainstream part of the CSA, but they do touch on it a little bit. Their CSA leans more towards medical topics than SRES does, but this is really kind of out of the mainstream real estate and even senior business for that matter. But I mean, certainly isolation and loneliness and depression are so prevalent among the seniors that we need to be in touch with it and know that, the resources and the things that we can do to help.
Right. Well, since she's not in the community, I guess well, like television with Wesley had mentioned television and
Televisit.
television as well as SourceWise. Would that be another one that would, if we see something, you're supposed to say something, whether you are an authorized reporter or not, but certainly have resources available where you can call. Well, for instance, a good thing is APS. We're doing that thing, Adult Protective Services. They're supposed to be doing a seminar for our group, but and that's
Well, Heart of the
been so
Valley,
prevalent.
yeah, doesn't Heart of the Valley have a lot of resources? SourceWise puts people in touch.
No, Heart of the Valley is a volunteer group. That's all they do.
Yeah, and they volunteer to help seniors. So I'll go through their information. I think I saw something that we can use.
So would that
connect
be a
them.
local group to refer people
It
to?
is our local group. It is in our.
No, SourceWise.
Yeah.
I'm saying I've never heard of
Yeah,
that one.
SourceWise is local as well. Of course, that's because that's our agency on aging is SourceWise.
Mhm. All right.
Carlos.
So, Julie, I think you would be the great person to do a calendar for seniors for activities. Since you do it for realtors, you can help seniors going out of the houses every day.
Oh, all of these principles that we just learned are going to be plotted into the business plan 2026 for everything that we do with our seniors real estate business. And the calendaring is a great idea, Carlos. So I'm going to plug that into our market makers agenda because that's a great idea. We need to do that. That's a really good idea.
And
So
that should also be reflected on the brand new website that went live. You can go ahead, that's your intro.
all right, so I don't know if anybody noticed, but the bulletin out this week, I sort of updated the
Who reads those anyway?
what?
Nothing.
There's a new look on page 1 of the bulletin, and at the top of page 1 on the bulletin on the PDF is the hyperlink to the seniors real estate services network.com. That's our new website for our group. It's going to be a work in progress. It's where everybody can access the recordings to our meetings and the bulletins and the resources in the bulletins. Eventually, we'll have resources accessible, like a resource landing page and that kind of thing. It's going to be a work in progress. When you click on there, it'll ask you for to register as a user, a member, and you just enter in your email address, and then it'll send you an email, and then you just click on that email, and you're registered. So I'm really looking forward to engagement on that. It's kind of, we're trying to put everything, all the stuff that we do onto this website. And if anybody has any ideas, suggestions, and otherwise feedback, I would like that. It's just real rudimentary right now. Okay, it's just basic stuff.
How can I help?
Well,
Okay.
just go on there and register as a member. We'll start with that.
The address is
It's on the bulletin on the front page.
okay.
Yeah.
And next week is going to be Home Instead presenting on their 40-70 rule. And I'm sure none of you know anything about that. And it'll be very interesting. And you might want to stay tuned for that next week.
So I just want to say hi, Jessica. What's new? What's going on?
Hi, Julie. Well, I've been gone for a little bit because I was traveling. I was in New York and Arizona and Vegas. It was like the Solomon Autumn Tour, which is really good until my phone and credit card and license was stolen in Vegas. That was not fun.
Oh,
So keep your, and I guess lots of things are being stolen so just be mindful. Everybody be mindful of your phone and keeping things on your person. So that sucked. But all of that was good. And Mark and I are getting heated up here. We're getting definitely a lot more inquiries are coming in. Unfortunately, a lot of them are people that, are really just can't help them. That's the tough part. There's a lot of seniors out there. But all good things, and we're formulating some things, and a lot of it has to do with like creating financial concierge models for real estate agents, for placement agents. And so more to come on that. And we're also ramping up, which we're going to circle back to you. And Skip is we're preparing for a virtual conference for the senior real estate. There's going to be 2 days. One day is going to be for real estate market, and the other day is going to be for senior care market. And that's going to be first week of March,
nice.
2026. They're
Okay.
starting recreating the landing page for that and starting to get panels together and things like that. So it's kind of exciting.
Awesome.
Mhm.
That's amazing. Okay, that reminds me, the other thing that I was going to say, and then I know some of you are not here, but in my local market, but next week, I myself, along with our local real estate association SCORE, we're hosting the Senior Living Community Showcase at the Campbell Community Center. It's on page 5 of the bulletin. Yeah, I think page 5. One of the
Whoever reads
pages of the
that.
bulletin. So this is sort of a pioneering event. We're going to learn a lot. I'm going to share it with everybody. We're having 8 new construction communities come and present to the community. We're inviting the public. We're inviting the whole Realtor Association, everybody. All of you realtors that are local, I'm going to be sending out, if you want, so you can send it to your databases, the press release and the invitation flyer. We're also going to have supporting vendors. We're going to have food. We're going to have a raffle. It's just going to be a lot of fun. So next week, the Senior Living Communities Showcase.
Julie's been working really hard on this too. It ought to be great.
This is going to be this is just the beginning of Business Plan 2026. So when I say pioneering, or what's the word I'm looking for? This is our beta. That's it. That's the word.
This is the beginning of a beautiful relationship.
Exactly. Exactly that. Exactly that.
Trial and error.
Exactly that. So yeah. And the senior living communities, okay, so I talked to the new construction. 2 of the communities, they aren't even open yet. Okay, so here, Jessica, you can appreciate this. This is the reason why I picked who I picked, is because they are new and newer and newest. They have inventory. They need heads in beds. So this is the conversation that I had with all of these properties, and they're just so excited. Oh, you guys have rented the whole big, huge hall at the Campbell Community Center, and you want us to come and present our new fabulous property? I'm like, yes, yes, I do. And they're like, okay. Okay. So the Allure in Santa Clara is the high-rise luxury. Their census is not where they need it to be at all. And they've been open almost a year now. So they're coming, and we're going to make a big deal out of them. And this part of the valley, they don't even know that there's a high-rise luxury senior living community in Santa Clara by the stadium. So that's one of their problems. So this is going to help with that.
Yeah, I just wanted to also plant a seed to help all of you guys, and depending on like where you think your reach is going, but with the senior placement has become so oversaturated that there's, especially during COVID, a lot of people went virtual and they started becoming national and started doing that. And then you see this merger between real estate agents and placement. There's a lot of things that are happening right now, as you all know. And there's some platforms that are being built out, and a tremendous amount of pressure for these senior cares. So Scott Fisher, do you know Scott Fisher, Options for Senior
I do
Living?
know him very well. He's
We just got
he's
off
a
the
close
phone.
colleague of mine, and his Options in Senior Living is a platform and a program that we've engaged with on a regular basis. Yeah, as a
So
senior home coach.
we just talked about you. Your ears must have been burning because we were Scott and I were on the call this morning, and he was talking how he's kind of phasing out of his business and he's transitioning it to his stepdaughters, but he's still very committed to this referral network, and making it very rich resources, just like you are doing. And then he's talking to me about Next Best Home, and he's like, can we replicate your website for agents or placement agents
Exactly.
to make so you could look like that resource, that very robust resource, because all this pressure that these assisted livings are getting is like, he goes, look, and he understands because he's part of the business. He goes, I just got the other day, he's like, I just got a community calling me, a placement agency, offering me 150% of the first month rent instead of the place for mom who has the overhead, offering very big fees to placement agencies. So it's kind of like it's just it's like pulsing right now on the pressure of what's happening with the needs for people. So I still believe real estate agents follow a code of ethics that the placement agencies aren't necessarily following, because they don't have to, because they don't have this consistent guidance and support system that you guys have for each other. So I just want to kind of plant the seeds, keep it in your radar, and just know that I'm here for you guys, and happy to start kind of, engaging you guys with like what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Well, we have a strong alliance and relationship with a couple of long-term historical placement advisors in our market. And they are on board with like the movement that's happening, is we're going to start bringing those two industries together. We're going to start to work together. Things are happening in that industry that's going to change everything next year. So, so we're way ahead of it. And Scott may have mentioned that as well earlier. So, yeah, so next week at the Campbell Community Center, everybody, if you could just save the date, it's Thursday morning, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're going to have food. We're going to have a raffle. Bring your family, bring your clients, tell everybody. I'm going to be hounding everybody this week. So,
And a few more heads up for the future. Senior Agenda is having their next presentation December the 4th, 9:30 to 4:15. Excuse me, 4:15. If you're not on the mailing list, you might want to Google Santa Clara County Senior Agenda and get on there. It's really worth it. Also, those of you that are CSAs with us now, I hope you're aware that we're trying to start the new Northern California chapter of the Leaders Network group, and Julie and I are part of that, and we've been working on it. And any CSAs that are on the call, you might want to join us, for the information on that. And then finally, I've got two classes, SRES classes I'll be doing coming up next year. January will be with CAR. There's no date for that yet. And then February will be with SCORE. Both of them will be on Zoom, and they'll be identical. So either one would work. But you might want to pass the information along. When I get the date for the CAR one, I'll let everybody know, and hopefully we can get some interest in that then too.
And then as soon as we get those dates, I'll be plugging that into the bulletin, and just like I've done in the past, it will become a regular item of something to have. And then so when everybody's out there, especially as licensed realtors, and we're working with our colleagues, our agent colleagues that are not yet SRES, now is the good opportunity for them to be able to do that. So, all right, everybody, this was great. Okay,
Wait,
I'll
where
see you
is the
guys. Go ahead, Michelin,
where is the event November the 6th? I thought I had on the
at the
calendar.
Campbell Community Center.
That's right, you did say
It's in the
10 to 2.
bulletin. Yeah,
10 to 2.
yeah.
Who
Got it.
reads the bulletin though?
Okay, everybody, you guys have a great week. Thank you so much. We'll see you
Thanks.
on the
Thank you.
computer. I'll see you online.
Bye, Julie.